Okay, I forgot to unmute myself on OBS again. Good start.
Oh, okay.
It's okay. Second time I've done this. Second time I've made this exact mistake. Let's go. Okay, so hello everyone. Welcome to the second episode, actually, of the Champions Corner, the For Honor podcast. And in this episode, we have the exact same guest as last time. So Scarbrand, a reptile, and a homeless guy we got from the street. Now we don't really need to introduce you guys. I don't think we've done that last time, but just so people know, in case there's someone who doesn't know you guys. Who are you, Scarbrand?
Hello, I am Scarbrand, competitive player since the beginning. I don't even know how many tournaments I won, but yeah, a lot.
Sick brag. Okay, Reptile.
Yeah, humble brag.
Yeah, Reptile.
Yeah, hi, I am Reptile. I am also a competitive player. I've been in it since, I don't know, start of summer.
Can you count? Can you count how many tournaments you've won?
No, I don't keep count.
Nice.
But it's not as many as score.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right, bitch.
Yeah.
And I Badra. I've been part of the competitive community for quite a while now, ever since I came from Xbox console.
Oh shit. Okay, that with that out of the way, we can tell you guys what's going to be going on in this episode. So we'll be starting off with some news. That's a new section we've added. We're just going to be, in this case at least, going to be talking about mentioning all the tournaments that happened, even the small ones like ESL tournaments, which they do, I think, weekly tournaments for almost all game modes for PS4 and some for PC as well. So I will be mentioning that, and we'll be mentioning who won those tournaments. If there's some other balance changes or something like that, we'll be mentioning those in this section as well. But for this time, of course, hasn't been changes. Hasn't been small changes. There have been, season 6, so we'll be talking about that later. So after that, we will be talking about console tournaments that we all played here, I think, except Reptile. After that, we'll be going to season 6 impressions. So what do we actually think of season 6? Last time we kind of knew what we thought, but obviously we didn't have as much playtime as we have right now. And then we'll be taking a break, and we will be talking about what makes For Honor competitive, or what in our eyes makes For Honor deep and skillful at a high level. So that's the roadmap, let's say, for this episode. And let's move right on to news. Okay, so there have been a lot of tournaments these past 2 weeks. I'm pretty sure I don't even have all of them listed. I have all the big ones with a decent amount of players. All of those are listed. So there was an ESL. ESL had a lot of tournaments. ESL 1v1 on PC, which Mr. Sagibottom69 won. So congrats to Mr. Sagibottom69. Then there was a lot of ESL tournaments on PS4. The two biggest ones were the two 1v1 tournaments that happened. So those were won by LP Sasha and M4X FTW098. Then we go to For Honor Arena 2v2, which was on PS4 and was won by Beth Laura and Toxicity is Bad. I think there's a 1v1 tournament by For Honor Arena going on right now as well, so we can check those out. You can check that out later. Then there was a PS4 4v4 tournament hosted by For Honor Console, which Bodrod and Scarbrand played in, and then there was an Xbox 4v4 tournament also by For Honor Console, which I played in. Then there was Saber Cavalry's 2v2 tournament on PC, which Setmix and I won. Mistressed Mayhem 2v2 on PC, which Scarbrand and I won, which we will be talking about later as well. And Junior Bump's PC 1v1 tournament, which Legion won. Have you guys watched the tournament? Do you know what were the characters used and things like that?
Yep. I watched the tournament. So the finals was Nuento versus Legion.
Okay.
And Nuento played PK, and Legion played Glad and Conk.
Okay.
And Ravelord was playing Warlord the whole time, but against Legion he played Avrochi against Glad to punish the zones.
Okay.
And that was a pre-buffer, by the way.
Yeah, this was before season 6. Okay, so those are the tournaments. Oh, by the way, the PS4 tournament was won by Itachi's team. He has a lot of members where some weren't even listed on Battlefy, so I can't, let's call it shout out all of them, but Itachi's team won the PS4 tournament. And the Xbox tournament was won by me, Devour, Mamba, and Fusion. So those were the results of those tournaments. Okay, so now that we've got news out of the way, we can move on to the console 4v4. The console 4v4 tournaments. So there was a console PS4, right? 4v4 on PS4, which you guys played in, and there was one on Xbox. So why don't you guys tell us about your experience on PS4?
Okay, well, console is always it's interesting, we could say. It's completely different. Like it's hard to even call it the same game as it is on PC. It's just two different experiences entirely. Different, the mind games or lack thereof are completely different. Different attack options are viable and everything. So it's always really weird to go from PC to console. And because of that, whenever we play in a console tourney, we don't really expect to win it. We just go in just to mess around, have fun, and we did pretty well this time. We got second place. Itachi's team that we lost to, they're pretty good, very good teammate. But the problem with console, right, is because it's so different. It's hard to say like how good these people would be on PC because, well, it's a different game. But yeah, we had a good time. But there was an issue with the 4v4 meta on console. It seemed every top team had the same exact comp, all the way down, all four. Like every top team had PK, Shaman, Ibushi, Kensei. No variation at all, and it was just because of the nature of console, right? It's a lot easier to attack, and Nabushi can say they love it when they can attack, so it was kind of hard to not run them.
Okay.
And Badra, what did you think?
Yeah, Badra.
Yeah, so like Score said, it's an interesting experience, but the meta is very stale. Like everyone's pretty much using the same comp. Pretty much you want to go a composition that can attack nonstop without being punished. So like Nabushi, Kensei, Shaman. Like Shaman ganks are really good on PC, but on PS4, like you can pretty much keep attacking nonstop. That's why Shaman's good. Like sometimes you don't even need to gank because how fast you can pretty much attack and output damage. So
yeah, on console, console every character is a gang character.
Yeah, pretty much.
Different from anyone.
I was talking to Ravelord because Ravelord does not play Kensei at all, even on PC, and he played Kensei for us on PS4, and he's like, I can't even count how many times my Swift Strike got parried. Like he said, it got parried once the whole tournament, and we were playing that composition pretty much throughout the whole tournament. So it just tells you how much you can attack.
Yeah, when it comes to PS4 is an adventure, but the Xbox is a fucking journey. Like you guys give your own experiences, right? Your own descriptions of what happened in your PS4 tournaments. I don't know what happened in the Xbox tournament. It is difficult to say because in one of the games, the other team, which was apparently like one of the best teams on Xbox, had Aramusha and Warden, and then they had like Aramusha, Warden, Warlord, and I don't think I think Valk or someone like that, and they were like the best team. When they ended up going, I think, third. There were Brazilians who ended up going to the finals. But yeah, like with you guys, there is a meta on PS4. On Xbox, people just kind of randomize their characters on selection screen and see what sticks. And in the finals, as you guys are, I'm showing the footage of the Xbox finals. This is against the Brazilians, which was a slightly difficult journey because of how cross-region is, at least in my experience, on console. Like on PC, you can play NA against EU just fine. There's no issues, but NA against EU on Xbox, at least for me, felt really, really bad. And as you can see, I can't even counter guard break. But these are Brazilians, right? But still, I can't. It's impossible to counter guard break. So there's a lot of that on Xbox. But other than that, like when it comes to organization itself, it was I think pretty well organized. But there were a lot of there was a decent amount of disputes, at least on Xbox. I want to hear what happened on PS4 as well when it comes to that, if anything happened. But on Xbox, I think we waited like 4 hours after winning our winners bracket, just because there were so many disputes when it came to I think everyone against the Brazilian team. So it was a journey, but it was a fun journey. It was a fun tournament, but I would not play that platform for entertainment. It's a rough time. But yeah, how was organizing on your guys' part on PS4?
Well, there was one funny thing that happened. So the team that ended up getting third, one of our members, after they lost in winners finals, just rage quit. He was done. He did not come back. It reminded me a lot of Legion falling asleep mid 4v4 tourney. Suddenly one of your members are gone and you don't know what to do. So that was pretty funny. Light Boogie, the organizer, he changed the rule mid-tourney to allow teams to sub in from outside of our roster, so that way the tourney could go on without DQing the team. But yeah, very much Legion vibes from that. It was pretty funny.
Okay, all right. Well, yeah, I think my footage just came to a very interesting moment. So yeah, people in the chat. This was our tournament experience. What you just saw there. There was the entire finals. Someone asked in the chat, did he actually fall asleep? Yes, he did. Half the tournaments he wouldn't be there, and one time he fell asleep during a tournament. So that was that was also a journey playing with Legion, but. Yeah.
He had a lot of issues waking up for Hero Series scrims as well.
Yeah,
we had a lot of Legion subs.
Yeah, half of you. Okay, so those were the console tournaments. I said in the Xbox tournament we won against. I'm gonna keep calling them the Brazilians. I'm not exactly sure. I think their name was Soul Killers. I think that was their name, SK. So we won against them in the finals. I think they were playing an actual composition that you could see on PC as well, which I think was PK, Kensei, Shaman, and Kong, something like that, which is an actual composition as well. Although Kong is not, I think, not as strong. I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you think? Is Kong as strong on PC as he is on console?
Yeah, agreed. What happened in the PS4 tourney is round 1, very first round, we lost 2-0. And it's because we were trying PC heroes, right?
Mm-hmm.
We were playing with like a Conk and Raider and shit. And see, the issue with them is they have less range, they have less quick attacks, so that means on console they're bad. Console is very complex, you see. You pick the hero with the most attacks, and you grab your controller and you go, and you win. After we lost round 1 there, we went all the way through the losers bracket to grand finals with our spam comp, and yeah, heroes like Conk, Raider, anything that can't attack as much, it's just not as good.
Okay, so well, it's beginner friendly, which is nice. I like that about console, but competitively, it's but.
Yeah, like there's no turtling in fucking
oh no, there's
console.
no blocking.
Yeah, like because we went Raider and Conk, and me and Ray were always at the bottom at the leaderboard because we couldn't do anything. Like I could not even touch anyone because they just kept dashing away. So even when I tried turtling, it wouldn't work because you would just instantly die. So we had to change our comp, and like Score said, we went from all the way from the losers to grand finals with a spammy comp.
Okay, but yeah, in conclusion, I wouldn't recommend console for competitive play. It can be fun. but if you're actually trying to take it seriously, it's rather
Shout
annoying.
out to the competitive community on console. Like, even though they have these tough conditions to play under, the PS4 competitive scene is very big. It's like equal in size to the PC one. They just love the game enough that they try to make it work.
Yeah, console is like the gulag of For Honor communities. It's very tough conditions, but somehow they're making it work, I guess. Okay, so that would be it for the console tournaments. Now we will be talking about Mistressed Mayhem 2v2 tournament, which happened, well, literally yesterday. Which I think all of us played in, right? Reptile, you played in as well.
Yes,
yeah.
I did. I played with a sword.
Okay.
Spaghetti.
Okay, so all of us played in it. Now I want to start with your thoughts, Reptile, on the tournament. What was your experience in it? And then we can go from there.
My experience was we saw a lot of the same comps. Me and we saw a lot of comp Kensei. Mind you, we also played comp Kensei because I can't play PK, and PK is not as strong as she used to be anymore, unless you somehow make spamming the bleed cancel work. But we saw a lot of people felt like they had actually practiced for the tournament this time around, and it was a pretty big tournament considering others I played in. But my general thoughts about how the characters we saw a lot of Conk, and we saw a lot of Kensei, and we saw a lot of Circer, mainly, at least on our part. Yeah.
Okay. So first thing actually I want to mention before going deeper into my own experience or talking about the comps that we played against that we saw in top 8. Is I want to say that this was probably the most smooth tournament in For Honor ever.
Definitely.
It was 4 hour long, and that's usually tournaments take like 6, and there's a lot more disputes and things like that. But this time everything was just fine. It was a 4 hour tournament with double elimination. It was not, it wasn't single elimination. It was double bracket, and it was still 4 hours. So. Well played, let's say, or well organized to Mistressed, and I would like to thank her for hosting yet another really good tournament.
It was remarkable, really. Like, if you go to the support dispute channel in the Discord, there's one message in there, and it is Mistressed explaining the purpose of the channel. There were no issues with the tournament at all. It was really amazing.
Yeah. So when it comes to disputes, there was nothing. There are some things that I hope will change for the next one when it comes to the rules. The timer was 3 minutes. I don't think there should be a timer at all, or if at all 10, but then there's no point of having a timer if it's that long. I don't think there should be a timer. And there was a dispute, I guess, half a dispute that we had during our finals against Legion and Barricade, where I think Scorpion was very, very low, so he just started running away, locked on, I think, but still running away, just moving back, and just left the, let's say, barrier of the region we were quote unquote supposed to play in, but there's no rule. There wasn't any rule against that, so they couldn't do anything. So I hope that that gets changed. But when it comes to the anything besides those two, the lack of those, or like those two rulings or those two rules in general existing or not existing, then except that, I think everything was fine. Okay, so
well, I think we should talk more about this right now as you brought them up. Like, I remember in the past there have been 2v2 tournaments that have had a rule about staying in a specific boundary, but
yeah.
Even then, I remember there were issues with that rule. Specifically with Cypher, it was always kind of difficult on how to judge that rule. Do you have any ideas on like how to improve that?
Oh yeah, because the issue was that what if you're forced to leave it, right? I think that was one of the issues.
Yeah.
What if someone like I don't know, like in our current conditions, what if a Kong just bashes you, like you're on the edge of it and the Kong just bashes you out of it? Now are we just banned from the tournament? I'm not exactly sure. What I think should on Temple Garden, what I think a nice let's say fix to that would be, maybe just like on a quick thought, is have like a transitional boundaries, let's say, where you can be in that specific part of the map. So for example, for Temple Garden, there's the stairs, and on the two sides of the exit there's a little bit of space until you get to the gate. So if that space is the transitional kind of region of the map, part of the map, where you're allowed to be there for, let's say, 10 seconds or 15 seconds, I think that could fix some of the issues, but that would still lead to things where like, okay, well then the Kong just is sitting there on the edge of it, and I can't really go back, because if I try to, I will get bashed. So I don't know if there's going to be a perfect solution. I don't know, Bodjat, Reptile, do you have any ideas on that? Or Scar?
Well, I think best solution would be if they added the new arena maps for elimination. That would fix it all entirely, right there.
Yeah, I think just making us capable of playing in the arena maps, then we wouldn't have to think about that. And
we already know it's possible. I mean, Carousel of Death 4v4 is played on these maps, so it should be available for a loan.
Yeah, like or just make Carousel of Death modded. Well, actually, that wouldn't help here. But on a side note, I think it would be cool if Carousel of Death was made a custom mode that you can play. But yeah, I hope something happens to that. Someone saying just add spectator mode. That would fix it. That would indeed fix it. But yeah, something would be nice if something were. I don't think it's the biggest issue, but it could be a pretty big issue if people wanted it to be. Like if it were abused, I think it would be a pretty big deal. Well, okay, so now that I switched to footage of Presmo playing against Bodjat and Rave, Bodjat, you guys were playing Warlord and Highlander. Would you like to, in the tournament, would you like to talk about that?
Yeah, so I want to start off, like, I'm not a huge fan of 2v2, and neither is Rave, so we kind of pick like a meme comp that we would have fun with. So we ended up picking Warlord and Highlander. High damage, so basically our strat was I would stay in front of Rave and he would be in offensive stance and he would just pretty much hide behind me. And anytime they would approach, I would either tank the damage so he can punish with 40 damage unblockables. It worked out pretty good. We were pretty happy with our performance. But obviously against certain comps, it's next to impossible, such as Zerker and Kensei, because they pretty much shit on Highlander, and you cannot go into offensive stance because of Zerker's undodgeables, hyper armor. Same with Kensei's hyper armor and just swift strike, punishing kick. And Warlord can't charge either of them if they lock onto the Highlander and dash attack. So I can't charge or headbutt them. And so it was an interesting experience, but we had a lot of fun playing this comp.
Okay. Yeah, cool. It's fun to see, even though you say it's a meme comp, it's fun to see that comp do well, even though, as you said, it's not the most serious choice, but still ended up working pretty well. And actually, about comps is, I think Scary brought it up yesterday in our Discord group, where you said, I think there were, 7 different comps in top 8? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, let me find the list here. Yeah, the tournament actually had amazing comp variety. Like in top 8 teams, there were 7 different team comps and 7 different heroes making up those comps, which is huge improvement to any 2v2 tourney we've had in the past. Like first place, Nobu Kensei. Second, Zerk Kong. So already in the finals, we have 4 different heroes. Third was Zerk Kensei. Fourth, Conk Nobu. In 5th, there was Highlander Warlord, and then PK Conk. And 7th, both were Kensei Conk. So it was really cool to see all these different ideas on how to make a 2v2 team, and all of them working out pretty well.
Yeah, I was happy to see different comps, because even the last one, the last tournament, it could get kind of boring at the end. I don't know if it did actually get boring, but when it comes to the comps and the names of the characters that ended up being in the top 3 or 4, there was a lot of the same. There was a lot of Kensei, a lot of Nobushi, PK. Those are pretty much the 3 characters that were played the most in the top 4. I'm not sure about top 8 or anything after that, but in this one you already have 7 characters, and that's really, really cool. I hope, you know, something like Orochi ends up being played a little bit more. There was one team with Orochi, which was Oscar and Craig, but unfortunately they didn't do that well. But there's more experimentation to be done with Orochi, and I hope we get to see him in the future in some other video tournaments, as I'm sure we will in 1v1 and 4v4. So that's nice. That's a really cool tournament. And unless you guys have anything else to that, then I would like to go to the last part of the discussion about this, which is, as usual, or at least as in the first episode, if there's any, let's say, new talent during a tournament, like in the previous podcast, it was for 2v2 White Wolf and Ghost over, and for 4v4 it was Skeptic's team. So for this tournament it was Presmo and Leuebu. Well, mainly Presmo, which is also why I'm showing the footage from his stream. He streams at Presmo94 on Twitch, so I think he streams tournaments, scrims, and I think matchmaking as well. So if you want to see more of him, you can go and check that out. So we can, in the Presmo and Weeaboo were playing Kong and Kensei, and I think they, sorry, not Kong and Kensei, Zerk and Kensei.
Yep.
And they got, what, 3rd place?
Yep, 3rd.
Yeah, so very well played by them, and again, that's why I'm showing the footage from Presmo stream. Did any of you guys play, because I know Square and I played against them. Reptil, did you play against them, Bodrat?
Yeah, I played against them.
Okay.
It was very, very close. We took it to 3rd map and we were 2-2, and then we kind of threw it really hard because me and Isor are we don't have the greatest synergy all the time. So Presmo has good control of how to target swap circuit dash attacks, and especially making sure to stick to me. As I was playing Kensei, I could not deal with his constant hyper armor, so I also ended up eating a lot of unblockables and whatnot because I just could not punish him, and he abused me really well for a certain point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He abused his advantages really well, and he stuck to me like he should have. Sometimes he took a little bit too much damage, but we all do that every now and again. So overall, well played, and GG.
All right, yeah, Bodrat, I'm showing right now on stream your guys' game against Presmo. So what did you think? Presmo and Weeaboo. So what did you think about the comp or about the players? Well, mostly the comp, actually. I would like to know.
The comp? Yeah, so the comp against us, like as you can see, we were having a lot of trouble just because the main focus of Rave is pretty much going into offensive stance, but you cannot go into offensive stance when there's a Zerker. And then on top of that, they had a Kensei also, which does pretty good against Highlander. And my goal was always to pretty much use my charge and headbutts, but I couldn't do either of those because, like I was saying earlier, they would lock onto the Highlander and dash attack, which I cannot punish with neither a headbutt or a charge. I could get lucky and try to full block it and then try to get a headbutt in, which does chip damage. So
it's pretty good chip damage. Though. 12.
So this was like pretty much the most frustrating comp we faced because like it just had too much pressure on Highlander and I couldn't peel off for him.
Okay.
So that's my thoughts.
Yeah, this thing for sure there as a conk. He could not make sure that the Cirque didn't kill me.
Okay, so Scar and I ended up playing these guys as well. I think it was our closest game aside from the finals, because I think we ended up like losing 2 rounds each match. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah.
I think it was 3-2 each game, or 3-2 two games, and then maybe 3-1. Either way, it was very close in each game. So if you want to say something, Scott, then this is the time about this. But other than that, like I would like to, kind of say my congratulations to Presmo for doing really well, and to Weeaboo as well. I can't forget that. And I think for Presmo it was like what, second tournament, first tournament?
Yeah, I think it's proof once again that you all just need to join these tournaments and see how you do. I think before this, Fresmo played one 4v4 tourney. He's never played a 2v2 tourney, and he got third in this one. He never expected himself to get that far. Nobody else expected him to get that far, but he did. He got that far. So just join these tourneys, see how you do, improve, get better. You might surprise yourself with how good you actually do.
Yep.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, like, hard work and, like, passion goes, like, a long way. Like, Presmo's, like, always messaging me about, like, how to improve, like, how to be a better shaman. What should I do in these situations? Like, he's always asking questions, no matter what the situation is. And from all that, he played like a beast on Zerk, and it's fucking amazing. Good job.
All right, yeah. Again, congrats, and hope to see more of Presma and more of other people who maybe see this and are like, oh, okay, so I can play, and play in more tournaments. So that would be it for the Tovita tournament. I'd like to just reiterate that it was very well organized by Mistressed, and again, thank you, Mistressed, for hosting it on their tournament, and yeah, hope she does more in the future as well. But that was a really good tournament. I was happy to play in it. So now the next thing I will be talking about is our impressions of this season so far. So Orochi and PK, guys, what do you think? Oscar.
All right, which one are we starting on?
I would like to start on PK because I think there's less to talk about. So let's talk about PK
well,
first.
I think the big thing about PK, well, like, I mean, the main point is that we were all wrong. We were wrong with our impressions on PK. Her dagger cancel is really good, and it's surprising that it's so good, right? Because you look at the frame data of it, and it shouldn't be as good as it is. It is as quick as Shaman's top lead, right? And that one's not hard to deal with. But animations do, of course, play a big part in reactions. Like, you look at the difference in reacting to a Shinobi light versus, say, a Warlord light. It's a lot harder to block the Shinobi one. But I think this is like a completely different level of just how much an animation matters. I think animations are much more important than we think up until now, just because of how good the stagger cancel is. So, yeah, I mean, PK, she got a lot of nerfs, well-deserved nerfs, but she still remains a very strong pick. And I'm having a lot of fun playing her now.
Okay, well, that's actually the most important part, I think. Like, for us, obviously, competitive, it's about what's the best, but knowing that, at least you, and I think other people, I saw a lot of comments saying that, someone of the Discords was like, yo, why did no one tell me PK was this fun? So there were a lot of these comments, and I think a couple of Reddit threads as well about that. So I was surprised that people like it so much, but also happy. That's great for the game that people like it. Obviously, it'd be nice to have something more in the quote-unquote rework, but it's nice that it's better than we thought. Now, in Score, since you have a tier list, right? And I think you did the tier list for 1v1 already, right? You updated it?
Yep, have first version of the 1v1 list out now.
All right, so where did you put Peacekeeper then?
PK and Orochi. Right now I have both of them S tier in 1v1. Orochi third, PK fourth. with
Okay.
Zerk and Conk being 1 and 2. I think they're both really, really good.
Okay. So, yeah, so 1v1, okay, so she's really good. Now in 2v2, I know that a couple people have been saying that she's not very good anymore, but I'm not exactly sure if I agree. I think she's still very, very good, but not, like, PK Kong is not broken anymore, and I think it's as, no, obviously it's not as good, but I think it's quite at the level where you could win against any comp. I'm not exactly sure. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts about that.
Well, I mean, PK is not terrible
Yeah, of course.
in twos, right? She's not like Valk or stuff like
Oh,
that, you know.
yeah.
But I definitely do not think she is a top twos pick any longer.
Okay.
And I think what illustrates it the most is if you compare her to Nobushi in twos. Before the nerfs, what made PK so good in twos was her forward dodge attack, 36 damage, lots of range on that dodge attack. And now that it is nerfed down to 26, you know, it's exactly the same damage as a Cobra Strike, but Cobra Strike is safer. Nobushi is just safer in general.
Yep.
So I don't really see why you would ever pick a PK over an Nobushi.
Yeah. She's not terrible, but not exactly someone's going to be winning tournaments, which sucks. And you know, I hope in the future there will be some additional changes.
Well, I don't think every hero needs to be top viable in every mode, right? Because
Yeah,
I still think PK in 4 is. I think PK is easily top pick in 4 still. Like,
yeah.
I'm still very strongly considering playing her on our team. So, I mean, she's great in 1, she's great in 4s, she's not as great in 2s. Well, not a big deal, I don't think.
Well, yeah, I was just referring to maybe some more changes making it more of an actual rework, but I guess now they stopped.
Yeah.
They stopped talking about it as if it's a rework. I think now they're actually calling it just an update. So if it's now that they're calling it an update, now it makes sense for what the changes are. So okay, so now Orochi. Now I'm showing you guys footage from Oscar's stream. He was playing Vinx, and it was on Orochi against Kong. And we already know what Scar thinks about Orochi, at least in terms of placement on tier list. Now, Bodra, what do you think about Orochi yourself?
I mean, that was so me and Score were talking yesterday about how Orochi can pretty much punish both shield bash options from Kong, the delayed one and the normal one. And I ran ahead and tried it with Devourer and customs, and it was pretty cool because we thought like Kong would do like extremely well against Orochi, but Orochi has a chance against Kong because he pretty much can't shield bash Orochi because it's either he does the dodge attack or he just cancels into a roll if he goes for a guard break, which I thought was pretty cool. And 4 MS light attacks from pretty much every direction, chain lights. It's extremely strong, and that's why I'm guessing he's at S tier. But the Riptide Strike is not really good, neither is the Storm Rush, but with chain lights it pretty much makes up for it.
Okay, cool. I definitely think that he's very, very fun to play. Like I started playing him a lot. Like I started playing him exclusively on matchmaking, as in like I don't play anything else matchmaking. Obviously, I don't also play matchmaking a lot, but when I do, I play only Orochi, and I hope to play him more in scrims and things like that because I do enjoy him a lot. I think he's very, very fun. I think everything about him is super fun. His feats are like I actually want to show a clip of Kunai in a second, but before we get to that, Reptil, what do you think about Orochi?
Personally, so far, I've scrimmed some 1v1s against Orochi. Maybe they weren't the greatest Orochis. It was Kawaii and Ashore. But so far, whenever I'm playing a neutral guard hero, I'm very underwhelmed. He does not have pressure on me, and I can punish him pretty much for everything he tries to do. But when I play a character like Gladiator, it becomes a lot harder. Maybe that has something to do with me not being the greatest reflex guard player. But in 1v1s so far, I'm underwhelmed with how much Orochi has on me. I can pretty much just do whatever I want against Orochi. I want to play against Orochi.
Yeah, I think you played against bad Orochis.
Yeah, it could be that. But I think maybe they just don't quite understand the pace they need to take with Orochi in 1v1. Like when I play in the 1v1, I have a very, very slow pace. I don't throw very many attacks. I mainly look to counter what they're doing. And then if they're playing really passive on me, then, you know, I'll try to bait stuff out, throw some heavy feints, eventually, you know, commit to that heavy, throw out the chain light. If they block it, well, I mean, I got some chip damage at least on the heavy. Or they might not block it, or if I think they're going to parry it, I might even get a 30 damage heavy on them if I read the parry.
Yeah.
Like, I think people may just be trying to attack too much with Orochi when he's very methodical, very slow. You got to think a lot about what you're doing, but if you take your time with it, properly bait out what you want to see from them, he absolutely has the tools to punish anything.
First of all, I wanted to say that I do agree. I think first of all he's super fun, and second of all I do think he's really good. But yeah, of course, the people may be trying too hard to press buttons with him at this point yet. But following up on the notion that he's really fun, like I'm showing right now on stream the clip that I had against Azur, where I almost get 100 to 0, and I just pop him with an icicle to his throat. And I think there's a lot of very fun moments like that with the character, and I think his feats, like I want to say it like that, like I think Orochi for me personally is the first character where I think of his feats as an extension of the moveset rather than an addition to it, if that makes sense. Like if I'm playing Nobushi, obviously, okay, well then I have a smoke bomb, or I have, you know, second wind or something like that. So okay, I have a heal. Okay, I have a smoke bomb. But when I'm playing Orochi, I feel like people have to be more careful. 1v1 in me, kind of like Punch for, I guess, for Kong would be, where people have to be a lot more careful when they're 1v1 in me, or if I'm just around with Ki and with Kunai, or you know, if someone's playing some a different feat and not Kunai, but you know, smoke bomb or oh, I was about to say, or revenge attacks. No, Kunai or smoke bomb. So I find that part of him very fun, and I can't wait to play him more in scrims and in competitive in general. I don't know if I'll be switching off of Nobushi, as I don't think there's a reason to switch off of Nobushi. It's never been a reason so far, at least. But I definitely want to play him for fun, and I think he's really good as well in 4v4. And I mean, I hope we see more Orochis. One thing actually about Orochi is that, as we were talking in the first podcast about Highlander being an addition to the meta, well, now Orochi is very good against Orochi is very good against Highlander, sorry, in team fights with his undodgeable attacks. So that might be like, you know, if you know the other team is playing Highlander, you can pick Orochi, or you can pick Berserker, maybe. This is similar effect, kind of, but I do think Orochi is better against Highlander, at least somewhat. So I'm excited to see him in the meta. Like, do you guys think he will be played in the meta, or do you think he will be like an off pick that, you know, if someone is already playing Orochi, you know, they might play him, but not as much?
I mean, it's possible. I think the big strength of Orochi, where he carves his niche, is it is really hard to gank him, and that's because of his feats. Like, yeah. Okay, let's say you're any hero but Orochi, and you come across a PK Shaman. What do? Well, you run away because you're going to die. If you do anything but run away, and you're probably going to die even if you run away. Well, if you're Orochi, what do? Okay, they're up against you, trying to guard break you to apply blade. Well, throw Ki up. Now they gotta wait like 5 seconds or whatever. Okay, we got their stam back. Now we're gonna try again. Oh, you popped smoke bomb now. Now they gotta wait another 10 seconds. And oh, now your team is here, and you guys are gonna kill them, and you're still full health. Like, it's very difficult to gank an Orochi once he has his tier 1 and 2. And I think that's something very unique about him that no other hero has.
Yeah.
Yeah, he pretty much becomes like one of the best stallers in the game at one point. Like, he no longer has to run away from Shaman PK in order to contest a point. You can pretty much just pop his feats and wait for your team to get there, pretty much.
Yep, that's you know, if you're running spawn, one's a really strong part about the hero. Okay, so to summarize this, unless there's actually we can I guess mention Beachhead, that as we said on the first podcast, it's a bad map. And you know, I hope that as you're playing Beachhead on matchmaking, you will realize it's really bad. But I do think it's fun and cool looking, but it's really bad. So you know, and that just wanted to throw that one in, because that did come with season 6 as well. Okay, so that should be it for season 6 impressions. And do you guys have anything to add or to finish off this segment with, or are we done for this one? After that, we're taking a break. So
I got nothing.
Yeah, I'm good.
all right, so now we're gonna take a break, 5 minutes or so, and the break is going to and after the break, sorry, we will be talking about why For Honor is at high level, why it's deep, why it's competitive, why it's skillful. So that's something that I don't think anyone's ever talked about. You see a lot of negativity when it comes to competitive on general on Reddit, and you know, people saying that it's, you know, nothing but gangs in the case of 4v4, or nothing but, you know, I guess unlocks in the past in 1v1. So we'll be trying to talk about why the game's good, which is not much, which is hasn't been talked much. So that would be the other part, but right now we're going to go on a break, and yeah, see you guys in a bit.
Oh, good. I think you may be muted.
I may have been muted. It's okay. It's okay. We learn together. My chat and I learn
I
together.
don't think I need learning. You might need a little more of them, but you're getting there.
My chat is me, and we are learning together. All the 129 of us are learning right now. So
Did you get enough sleep?
let's not talk about that. So guys, remember, if you're doing any production, do it before do it before the show rather than during it. Okay, so we're back from the break, and hello, and we'll be talking about competitive. As I was looking at my scenes, I realized I forgot to put them there before the show starts, so we are here. Yeah, so before we go too deep about any aspect of 4v4, or well, technically it's for what makes For Honor really good, but that's most likely going to just steer towards 4v4 talk. What makes that mode really good? Just like to mention the things I will be talking about. So I will mention some of the things I have, and you guys can mention some of the things you have as well. So the first thing that we will be talking about for sure is how much is happening in 4v4 in each 4v4 game. Each team fight is a lot more complex than any 1v1 or 2v2 is. You have to be looking out for a lot more things than just as I say 1v1 or 2v2. Revenge, everything about revenge, we'll be talking about that. Things like situational awareness, map awareness. So those are some of the things that I have. Bodrat, what just kind of introduce some of the topics that we were talking about as well.
Basically, how Alan was saying, situational awareness, how many points other team has, whether you're taking team fights or not. Like if you're triple CAC, do you continue fighting? How many people are needed for ganks? Revenge management, stamina management, fighting in minions. A lot of those topics play in hand when 4v4 is in question.
Yeah. Okay, so do you guys have anything additional to that you will be talking about? Reptile, Scorbrand? Any big topic?
I haven't prepared much for this. I was a bit busy this morning,
Thank
but
you. That's okay. Same here.
You're welcome.
Same here, dude.
But yeah, I mean, just in general, like how much you have to keep track of in 4v4, as you and Bodrat said, it there's a lot of skill into it.
Okay, so Bodrat, I know you have all of your paragraphs ready, let's say, of your notes there. So why don't you start and talk to us about whatever you want to talk about first?
Yeah, so like basically I wanted to compare it to 2v2. So Aller, the clip I showed you yesterday, if you can pop that up, or this morning,
yeah,
sorry.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah, so I think a lot of the competitive players agree like 4v4 is more competitive when it comes to this game, because 2v2 gets really boring to watch, and even the players that play twos don't like twos that much, since certain comps it can be a lot of staring, and people want to watch like a lot of hype moments, but if you're just staring there just to get chip damage. So like I was watching Setmic's stream yesterday, and our fight against them was very stale. We were just staring at each other, and Setmic was like, just hit him once, get chip damage in, and just time them out. So that was pretty interesting. You have to play like extremely slow, and especially with no revenge, there's no really any consequence of spamming attacks, because you can get away with a lot of shit as long as you have good recovery and hitboxes. And once you reach the top level, there's not really getting better. You're not getting any better at twos besides blocking and positioning better. In fours, there's always something new to learn / master, and there's a lot of hype moments and it isn't tunnel visions at twos. So if Score, do you want to add some stuff? I'll continue to talk.
As far as hype moments goes, yeah, 2v2 can, I mean, you see the clip here. If the players so choose, it will stall out, and that's a big thing about just having an objective. If there's an objective to play over, then that adds an extra element. It discourages the passive play and all that. But for me, when I play Kensei and twos, a hype moment for me is when I hit a side heavy and hit someone's block and get 8 chip damage. I get really excited about that, you know? Twos is very exciting. I love my 8 chip damage. But, you know, high moments in 4v4 is, you know, maybe a 1v3, stuff like that.
No, I think...
Yeah, like in...
okay, go on.
Yeah, like in fours, there's like so much going on. Like you either play slow sometimes aggressive. Like you don't get awarded for always stalling, because there can be other stuff going on behind you. And you need a lot of situational awareness and different play styles.
Yeah. Like... As Scar said, like when I'm hitting like 2 or 3 sidewinders into someone's block, I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. I am doing it. I am winning the video game. And as you guys can see in the clip, this is a clip from a tournament game from yesterday's tournament. And those things do happen, and they will keep happening as people get better at either 1v1 or 2v2. 2v2 I think less than 1v1, but still. And there's also in 2v2, even though it is, I think at least better than 1v1, it is still there. It's still to the point where it doesn't feel like it's complex, or at least very complex. Where in 4v4 there are a lot of moments where I'm like, oh, okay, so I have to change the way I think about this, or I have to, oh, so maybe my playstyle, there was something wrong with my playstyle, maybe, oh, this is some new knowledge that we found. Let's apply that to my game. Meanwhile, in 2v2, it's like, oh, okay, I need block better, and let me hit my sandwinders into blocks better. That's the utmost complexity in 2v2, and in 1v1 it's okay, I'm playing a character with a safe move, let me use that move, let me stay for 50 seconds, block his attacks, let me use that move again. There isn't even close to the same amount of complexity in 1v1 and 2v2. I do feel like 1v1 is a nice way to start learning a hero, right? Or if you've just bought the game, I think it's a nice way to get to a more complex part of the game, where in 1v1 you learn your hero, you learn what the other heroes are, you learn the matchups, you learn the basics like blocking and parrying, and then you go into 4v4, which is a lot more complex, where your blocking is then has to be elevated to a new level where there's 4 people you have to block, and there's a lot more positioning that matters a lot more than 1v1 and 2v2. So I do think 1v1 is a nice way to start playing the game, but you have to but I think at one point the best way is to switch to 4v4. Of course, if you don't like 4v4, that's fine, but competitively speaking, I think that's how, let's say, the curve of progression should be going, generally speaking. Okay, so as I'm going back to the other overlay to switch the footage I have, Score, Budget, do you guys have anything to say?
I was just gonna say that like 4v4 would explode once spectator mode would come in. The reason why a lot of 2v2 is hosted right now is just because it's easier to commentate over, pretty much.
Yeah, and just to give an example of like how much depth there is in 4v4, something that I've been working on lately is I've been trying to keep track of the revenge tags on everybody in a team fight. If you guys don't know, the way revenge works is when someone attacks someone else, they tag them for 5 or so seconds for revenge gain, and depending on how many people they are tagged with, that will determine the multiplier on the revenge gain. So a big thing to improve how your team does in a team fight is to prevent the opponent team from getting revenge, and the way you do that is you do not attack into people that have a lot of tags on them. And so it's already difficult to block everything in a team fight when you got 4 people around you, attacks flying everywhere, and then you have this other layer on it where you're paying attention to who is attacking who at every moment, and you have timers for all of them running in your head at once, and you're deciding based off of all of these dozens of timers who you're attacking and who you're not. It's like the skill there is limitless. You cannot physically become good enough at that as a human being. You can only improve at it, get better. But like if you talk theoretical, like if this was done perfectly, team fights would end with no one getting revenge. And this is just one aspect of 4v4, one tiny thing. I'm just talking about revenge in a team fight. There's tons of stuff going on in 4v4 at every moment. There's so much stuff that you can improve on.
Yeah. Revenge is a very, very big one where I see a lot of people complain about revenge in both extremes. And one extreme being that it should not be in the game because, you know, whatever arguments the person may have. And the other extreme being that it's, you know, that it's bad. Please give us season 1 revenge back. But I think like the second extreme is slightly less important, but the first extreme where people like shouldn't be in the game, this is not a good thing for the game or something like that, I find that ridiculous because of how much depth and how much skill it adds. Like you said, Skarbran, the tagging system, revenge is the sole reason why ganking, well, not the sole reason, but one of the big reasons why ganking is such an important part, and why it's such an important skill to develop. And it also makes some characters actually viable, like Shaman, right? So there's a lot, I think, that goes into revenge that people don't necessarily talk about, where they complain about it. Like, you know, like revenge in 1v1, stuff like that, that was obviously terrible. In 2v2s, it's also pretty bad. Like, I would not play in a tournament with 2v2, in a 2v2 tournament with revenge. But in 4v4, I believe it's a core mechanic that works very well with the game. So when it comes to revenge, I think that's about it. Now the next thing is for me is team fights. How much there is to team fights, and how each team fight is different, and how in each team fight you have to be reacting to what your opponents are doing at such speeds that you will still take damage always, but there is such a high skill to that as you said, Scarman, technically if everyone was perfect at revenge, no one would be getting revenge in a team fight. Well, if everyone was perfect also at team fighting, people wouldn't necessarily be really taking much damage. But even the best players in the world keep dying very quickly in some team fights, or they obviously they die, whether quickly or not, and that's a skill too that you can progress to such a level that I think that's the main part of why 4v4 is really good for me, or really cool. Revenge is a really good mechanic, but I think on top of that, I think the way team fights works is also really good, where you can, and on top of that, there is so much more to 4v4 when it comes to the things that you could be doing. It could be walking around the map, you could be taking points, you could be helping a teammate, you could be doing something else. So on top of the team fights doing really well, then okay, what if I'm not good in team fights? Well, you can do something else, right? You can do a lot of other things during a 4v4 game, and I find that to be really cool. A really nice aspect of the game.
It's just a really cool, unique idea too, right? Like you have this it's almost like a fighting game with lots of fighting game elements in For Honor, and then it's very team-based as well. You don't see a team-based fighting game. It's not something that's been done. It's completely unique, and I think that's the coolest part of For Honor.
Yeah, it's really nice. Bodja, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just about to say, like, just build on what you were saying about if you don't like team fights or you're not good at team fights, there's different roles for you. Like, a good example is Hansex, a really good 4v4 player. He plays Lawbringer, and he's extremely good at Lawbringer, but you never see him in team fights. He's always either farming minions or helping with ganks and stuff. That's what's really interesting, and I believe Reptile had something to say about roles too. And Reptile, what are your roles in 4v4 when you play?
Mainly right now I play Raider, well, not as much, but mainly Kensei. So in my main role is to clear mid and make sure I am in team fights. But mainly what I want to talk about in roles is specific roles have specific situational like mindset. You need to do specific things in different scenarios. Like, it's very normal to have the situational awareness to, if you're winning a team fight already, but you're low, so you want to heal, you can go to their home point, say Citadel Gate, take their home point, and then heal off of that, so you get a lead. Maybe if the team fight is still going on, when you're healed, you can go back and help. That will snowball a big lead for you, but not every character should be doing that, depending on what character they are. Well, also depending how low you are. But with Raider, what I want to do a lot is pretty much the same as Shaman. I always want to be looking for outnumbered fights where I can get a charge, because you don't want to do Raider charge in any fight where you're same numbers or they have more numbers. You always want to have one number at least on them to Raider charge. So as Raider, you have to be looking for fights in your favor, and you want to be holding points. So what I wanted to talk about with that was just situational awareness depends on what role your character fits into. And then there's, of course, general situational awareness.
Yep. And when it comes to situational awareness, is what I find at times frustrating, because it can be frustrating in a way, but what I also really find very interesting is how you could make the same decision twice in a similar situation, and there could be two different outcomes depending on variables that you didn't didn't necessarily know about, or you didn't necessarily how should I say this, didn't necessarily have the knowledge of. So a very easy example for me is, for example, you see your team on matchmaking, right? You're playing matchmaking, let's say not scrims, but matchmaking, and you see your team in a 1v2. Like there's one player on your team who's in a 1v2 on their point, and he's low, but he has revenge, for example. And there's another fight, and you're mid, and there's another fight going on that's a 2v1, but your teammates are very, very low, and both of them, and the opponent doesn't seem to be low. Now where do you go, right? You can go to either the 1v2 and try and help because the teammate has revenge that he hasn't used yet, or you can go to the 2v1. Now on matchmaking, as I said, those will, even in scrims for me personally, but in matchmaking this is seen I think the most, where you can make the same decision. You can make the same decision twice, and you will. It's not a wrong or a correct decision. It's not a wrong. It's not a wrong or right decision. It's just a decision you make, and then you see what happens afterwards. And there's a lot of depth when it comes to that, and a lot of, let's say, reading. A lot of the time when I'm playing 4v4, even in scrims, I'm reading the opponent team, what they will do, and try to counter that. So it's almost as if you're playing a 1v1 where the biggest part of a 1v1 is reading, right? But you're playing a 1v1 against the other team in a way where there's a lot of reading going on, and there's a lot of, even almost to the point of mind games, which for me is a very interesting part that I don't see almost anyone talk about it.
Yeah. I think another thing that we haven't brought up yet, and something that a lot of the casual community does not understand, is the skill behind ganking. You hear casual complaints about competitive 44. It's just a bunch of ganking. Oh, I hate that. No skill, we're just spamming and ganking. Well, in order to properly execute a gank against someone who knows what you're doing and defending against it properly, there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of decisions made on both sides, and because it's an objective mode, every second matters. Like, let's say you're in a 1v2, but you make a correct read, and you last 10 seconds longer than you would have if you didn't. That can win a game right there, those 10 seconds, and it has won games. So every second matters, it being an objective mode. So how clean you gank is extremely important. Whenever I'm fighting weaker people in scrims or tournaments or whatever, it's seriously like one of the number one things that makes them lose games. They have sloppy games. And
yeah.
That's something that a lot of people don't understand. Like, you need to properly manage your resources, your attacks, your bashes, and all that, to kill them as quick as you can. And, like, for example, like you're ganking with a raider. You have raider and someone else, and you're ganking a guy. You're not just going to land a raw raider charge. Like, if you just run up to them and try to raider charge them, you're going to dodge it, right? So you need to set up that charge. You need to hit stun them, with a heavy attack, so they cannot dodge the charge. And if you do this too slow, that could lose a game. You take too many attempts to do this, they get revenge, that could lose a game. And so in a gank, even if you're unfavored, you have a real impact to win the game for your team if you outplay your opponent. And yeah, it's huge. Like, there's a lot of skill on both sides in a 1v2.
Yeah. Budget?
Yeah, I was gonna say just the reasons why like I really enjoy 4v4 is like even if you have one sloppy gank, that can screw up the whole game for you, because those 10 seconds, like Score said, can pretty much be a huge detriment to you the whole game. Because they lasted 10 seconds longer, their whole team got there, now you're triple capped, and two of you are dead, which creates a lot of snowball effect.
Yeah, if you put too many resources into killing a guy and it doesn't work out, you can lose your entire map pressure. And if they can manage to keep it, well, you just lose. So yeah, get good at.
Yeah, I have a really good clip for this one. I just have to find it. It's the Kihu clip.
I can give you it. I have it.
Okay, I'm sure you have it.
I have it bookmarked.
Okay, you can give it to me then, and I think it will illustrate what we're talking about very, very well. It's a very good clip. So yeah, like for me there's so much going on in FR4 and so much additional variables that don't exist in other modes that it's to the point where there are a lot of things where I don't think we will ever get really good, or at least as good as we could at. Meanwhile, at 2v2, the only thing I can really think of that we don't do very like well enough is blocking well enough, or combining with our teammates' punishes. Maybe we can do that better. But when it comes to 2v2, I feel like there won't be a big evolution in terms of skill and of 1v1, of course. But in 2v2 even, I don't feel like there will be a big evolution in terms of skill, how we think about the game. But in 4v4, those happen all the time. And changes to playstyles happen all the time, which doesn't really happen in any other game mode, I don't think. And by the way, I saw someone in chat talking about this. When we say 4v4, we mostly mean the minion. Most of this is also applicable for... these things are mostly applicable for all modes when it comes to team fights and revenge. But obviously ganks don't necessarily apply as much when it comes to like elimination skirmish. But Dominion and Tribute is the two modes that we are focusing on when we talk about those things. Mostly Dominion as well when it comes to, you know, like capture, like the points and zones and things like that. We're mostly talking about Dominion, but this also applies for Tribute. Just so you guys know what we're talking about, because I think we didn't mention that. So yeah, let me show the clip because I think it will show very, very well.
Yeah, while you're talking about the clip, Presmo was asking what like my #1 tip is in 4v4. It's pretty much staying alive. That's what a lot of average to teams that are trying to get competitive, they struggle with staying alive. You want to stay alive as long as possible to help your teammate.
To add to that, one of my main struggles, actually getting good at the game, keep watching bodies. Don't let people get revives for free. People do that a lot, and it loses games a lot.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, that's a big part of 4v4 as well. Like by the way, guys, all of this that we'll be talking about, me and a couple other people. This will not just be me, but we will be creating an educational series about 4v4. So this will be on my YouTube channel. You can find it in the description, or in the panels, I guess it's called on Twitch. But there will be, so far there's been no research that you could use to actually get very, very good at the game, and I hope that becomes that. Me and a lot of other people will be working on that. So if you guys are wondering exactly what we're talking about when we mention some of the things like revenge and, you know, how exactly those things work, this will all be talked about, and I hope it becomes, you know, like an ultimate resource that you guys can use. And yeah, you're seeing what's happening here. Like there's a PK Shaman gank, and it's executed questionably, and I stay alive for the entire duration of the gank, which of the clip, which is 50 seconds, and then I killed them both just because of some let's call them questionable decisions, right? So these are the types of, that is of course an extreme example, but these are the types of things that happen a lot as Skar said, when, you know, we're playing worse teams. Like if I'm playing lower level team, even in scrims, because of course those, you know, those happen, then one of the first things I am looking at is, well, first of all, are they doing what they should be doing in a team fight? And the second thing is, are they actually ganking properly? Are they throwing heavies in my guard? Are they lunging at the shaman pounds before it deals damage? well, then probably not the best gamers. And there's a lot of those types of skills in 4v4 that I don't believe get talked about enough, whereas the other parts of the game I think are like 1v1. I think every slightly above average player can tell you about the intricacies of 1v1, the mind games. Of course they will not tell you about the exact details, of course there is skill in that, but I believe in 4v4 no one has ever really talked about before us, I guess, what makes 4v4 so good. So I hope this helps you guys, and in the future the educational videos. So okay, is there anything else that you guys would like to mention about this entire topic? Because there is a lot.
Well, I mean, we could go on all day.
Yeah.
But we got to cut it off somewhere. So
yeah, I was just.
If you want to have a Q&A,
yes,
do it soon.
Yeah. So what I pretty much meant is, do you guys think that there's anything super important that we haven't talked about it? I don't think there is. I think there's of course a lot of other aspects, but
the most important thing would be if we did miss anything, it will be covered in the Dominion Guide series later, because pretty much all aspects will be covered there and what to do. So always check up on that.
Yeah, by the way, the first episode of that I hope is going to be out by next weekend or somewhere around there. There will be, I will advertise it. I'll try at least. Okay, so I think that will be it when it comes to this part of the podcast. Now we'll be going to Q&A now, and after that will be over. So the Q&A is the last part of the stream. Reptile's been looking at the chat the entire time. I hope you guys have been asking questions. If not, I can make some up. Make some up.
Couple. We have enough.
Okay. So what's the first question? Hit me up, Reptile.
The first question is, why is only Dominion really seen as competitive? So say, why not Tribute, Skirmish, Elimination, yeah?
Well, as far as Tribute goes, there have been a few Tribute tourneys. It has been played competitively, but I think there's a couple key issues with the mode that are really holding it back. I think the number one issue with Tribute that is making it not as competitive as Dominion is the spawns and the spawn locations. Tribute has very, very random spawn locations in that you have a huge area that you can spawn in, and that decides pretty much every Tribute game. Where people spawn decides who wins every game in Tribute, basically, as long as there's not a huge or even a small skill discrepancy. Like if the two teams are even, they could go back and forth. A game will probably be decided by a spawn at one point or another. Because you can have people spawn directly in front of someone carrying a flag, for example. So I think step one to make Tribute a more competitive mode would be really restrict where people can spawn.
Yeah, like that pretty much changes like the outcome of the battle sometimes. Like sometimes you're carrying a flag, you're all the way at your base, and they spawn right in front of you. And they're like, okay, there goes the game there.
You didn't read them correctly, Budrat. Yeah, I like Tribute personally, and I think I don't know if all of us. I don't want to talk for all of us, but I know a lot of people also like it. There have been a couple tournaments, as Skor said. I've enjoyed the tournaments, but I do believe there is some additional work that needs to be done. Okay, Reptile.
All right. So this is another question. If Carousel of Death was added to customs, and with some small possible tweaks, how well do you think it could thrive as a competitive, 4v4 elimination game mode?
Well, it's hard to say, right? Because issues with a mode may not be fully apparent at first. Like, you first look at Tribute, the spawn issue won't be apparent. So it could be, or it could not be, but I think it would lean more towards no, just because there's no objective, right? I think For Honor suffers a lot if there's no objective to be fighting over, as can be seen in stalling and 2v2. and it just, it really limits how many things there are to improve at to to outplay your opponent in. There's no objective to fight over it.
Yeah, I don't think it would work. I wouldn't mind playing it as like a teamfight simulator kind of thing, but I don't think it would work competitively. Okay, Reptile.
All right. I think that covers the other question too, which was just would 3v3, which is 2v2+1 work as a competitive game mode.
Oh, there was a tournament like that. There was
I heard
3v3
about it.
tournament. It was really good. It was bad. It was not good. Again, I wouldn't mind playing that for fun, but I don't think it's competitive.
Yeah. Okay. So the next actual question would be: we have all these mechanics to get hits in on people, right? Like feints, bashes, soft feints, unblockables. So, what other kinds of mechanics would we like to see in the game to be added to the game, if any?
You mean like does the person mean like ways to open people up? Is that like additional mechanics to open people up?
I guess because that's he listed literally it's Ender. He listed literally every single tool we have to get damage in. So I guess he means what other things would we like to see that so we could get damage in?
I mean, if you guys have any ideas, then
I would like to see them expand more on hands next to or parry and guarantees on block. Where, for example, Valk, if she hits a heavy and you block it, she gets a guaranteed shield crush, right? Nabushi hit and stance heavy, she gets a guaranteed kick. I think these are interesting mechanics, right? Because it's pretty much an unblockable, right? You gotta dodge it or you gotta parry it or you're taking damage, but it's a different kind of unblockable, and being a different kind, it does have a very big effect in 4v4.
Yeah, it takes
I would love to see
time.
them play around with that more.
Yeah, it takes a lot more time. If you guys don't necessarily know what score means, like it takes a lot more time to kill someone, to get. It takes a lot more time than just hitting the unblockable compared to hidden stance heavy. It gets blocked, I kick, I light. That takes a lot more time, so that the opponent can be helped, right, by his team, and there's things like it gives him a revenge. So there are downsides to it. It's not actually just an unblockable. But yeah, I would like it if they played around with it more. Yeah, it's a really good mechanic, I think. Budget? It's not budget, Reptile.
All right, so quick question would be just, will Orochi, do you think, be viable in 2s?
I would like to play him more so that I could give my own opinion, because I'm not exactly sure. I would think he'd be not okay. The way I'm thinking of him right now, without having played him much in 2v2, only just watching and playing him in 4v4 and 1v1, I would think he'd be on the level where he will most likely not be winning tournaments, but will be, like, if he played very well, it could be, placing well in tournaments. I think around that level is my initial impression, but it might change in the future. He might be, might be good, might be really bad. I'm not sure, but I think he's around the level of, maybe the new PK, something like that.
Yeah, my initial impression is also he has a lot of issues with getting external and whatnot, but needs more time to really know. So on top of that, what is the viability of Storm Rush and the viability of it as a long-term pressure tool in duels?
My favorite game mode. Once they fix it being not delays after it not being delayable, then it's gonna be strong, I think. That's about it, honestly.
Yep. For those who don't know, right now, after you do a Storm Rush, you cannot delay the light. That light will always be 400 ms. It will not be 333 ms as it should be. So it's a bug with it currently. Hopefully that'll get fixed, because right now Storm Rush is not very good, but that would make it extremely good. So that'll be cool to see fixed.
That sounds like a big turnaround event, like going from really bad to really good. See, would you call it balanced as well? Then,
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
There's lots of counterplay to it. There's a lot of mind games to even land that Storm Rush on their block.
Yeah.
A lot of steps that you have to take to get there.
What I really enjoy about Orochi is that I think he's like, if people are, people don't like things like unblockables and bashes, and I think he's really fair if we are assuming that logic, because first of all, like his power comes from his chains, right? So he has to hit something, or something has to be blocked for him to be able to go into his very, very strong tools. So that's really, for me, that's really cool, where there's an additional step for a character to get access to his really strong tools, and he's still really good. So I like that about Orochi, and I think that's really cool. Any other questions?
Not on my sheet, but I think we just got like 3 new questions in the chat. So let's see here. What heroes do you think they should prioritize for reworks or updates? Or do you think it's time for some new heroes? From Dashu.
In my opinion, Shigoki, Shinobi, Raider, Lawbringer should be the main focus right now, because it's extremely annoying fighting Shigokis and Lawbringers, and for both the parties. So I think they really need to focus on those heroes.
Yeah, that something needs to be done about those. That they're just not very good and also not very fun. So I hope something gets done. I agree with that list personally. I think Shigoki and Lawbringer should be Lawbringer, I guess he's at least good in 4v4, but I do think that Shigoki Lawbringer should be the priorities when it comes to reworks, and then Raider, Shinobi, characters like that.
Please rework Raider. Okay, so a follow-up question by Ender, which is more of a big topic, but we can touch on it quickly here in case we want to have it on a later podcast. How to fix Shigoki and keep the identity of the character. Now that would also go for like Lawbringer.
No idea.
Like,
yeah, no idea. Shigoki is an abomination.
Delete Shigoki, make him a skin for all the characters. That's what I want.
What is that hero? No, delete the whole hero and start from scratch. You cannot salvage much from that, besides, the look of it. It's such poor design from bottom to top.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Don't you like 80 health swings? Come on, bro.
Love them.
Love them. Passive hyper armor is great. Yeah. I don't know what they could do. Actually, Reptil, I saw someone asking in the chat about why would delaying attacks make them quicker, and obviously, I think most of the people watching probably know, but just for those who don't, they're in the game right now. The attacks that you see from bots are not the intended speed. So if, let's say, a 500 ms light from a bot, it's 500 ms. It's not supposed to be 500. It's supposed to be 433. So if it's a neutral light online, it will almost always be 433 unless the opponent buffers the guard switch, for example. And chain attacks, same thing. You have to wait a little bit after throwing your first attack in a chain, and then you throw the second attack. And the down attack is quote unquote sped up, but it's actually the intended speed then. So that's why it's a big issue with Storm Rush and Orochi, that he can't delay the attacks, because it's 400 ms, which makes it only 33 ms quicker than a 500 ms light. So that's how it works. In a very brief way. Of course, there's many paragraphs written by Berets about that. I'm sure there's many docs, but that's the abridged version of how it works. Okay, so I think that's about it, right?
One quick question from Sloppy here, which is the last thing we can touch on. What thoughts on balancing Highlander? So it's an interesting question, because do you touch on his offensive stance, like his dodge recovery? Do you touch on his damage? What do you guys think you should do to balance the character called Highlander?
I think his his damage output right now is too much due to the health pool characters. He currently has pretty much a dash attack that does 40 damage. So that's a little bit too much, because if he dodges a headbutt or a shield bash, he gets 40 damage, and no other character in the game gets that. So toning down his damage a little bit might help him.
Yeah. Well,
So you wouldn't say touch his dodge recovery and all? Like we've all seen the clip of Setmix missing everything against Floppy.
Well, Rave had something to say about if they changed his dodge recovery, he wouldn't be able to land any of the offensive lights. So something else has to happen if they do reduce his dodge recovery.
well,
But Rave can obviously touch on that topic.
I think it would be okay if then, if we want the dodge recovery to be nerfed, which I'm not sure if we do, then you could just make it so that he could cancel the recovery with a light, and I think that would fix the issue here. But I don't know, Scar, what do you think?
I think the issue is not the dodge recovery, it's the iframes on the offensive dodge. Like, if you've ever played Highlander, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, like, go load them up against the bot, and don't even try to time your dodges against the bot attacking and just spam dodge. You'll probably dodge it. Like, it has ridiculous iframes on it. If those were reduced, that's where the frustration is coming from, I feel. And as far as the feel of the character in general, they definitely missed the mark with how Highlander should be played, right? He's this big guy with a big sword, and he doesn't play like a big guy with a big sword at all.
Yeah, it's like they've flipped his identities when it comes to defensive and offensive stance. Like, when he's in a defensive stance, I'm like, oh, so now I can attack him. But he's in offensive stance, and I'm like, oh, let's not press buttons. It's a very weird feeling for me to have. I don't know exactly what changes should be made, but I would hope that whatever changes end up happening would make him better defensively in defensive stance somehow, or something like that, and then more of a menace in offensive stance, but with less damage. Because right now,
I think
I just don't want to attack.
It does need a full rework, I think, because I've thought about it. Like, what do you change about defensive stance to, make it actually defensive? And there's nothing to add there. There's nothing to defensive stance. Like, what can you do in defensive stance? You have a heavy, a light heavy, a light heavy. You have crush and counter, and you have Celtic Curse. That's it. I've listed the entirety of defensive stance. There needs to be something more there, and then you can work with that new thing.
Yeah, is Second Light still GB and block?
It is not, at least.
Okay.
Yeah, it has hyper armor. It's really good.
Like, you look at Conk. Conk is a defensive hero, and he was, for the most part, an excellently done defensive hero. At least defensively, I think he's really well done. He's got many different defensive tools. He's got his zone, his side dodge bashes, many different ways to parry. He can parry with zone, he can parry with heavy, feint into full block, he can parry with heavy, feint into the shield bash, he can parry with a raw heavy, he can parry with charging the heavy, and this makes it very easy to play defensively with Conk. And so if you apply that to Highlander, what defensive tools can we give Highlander to make his defensive stance defensive? Well, there's nothing in his current kit that you can add on to there. He needs something new. He needs a rework to it.
Yeah, I can't really think of a single thing that you could add to defensive stance and then change an offensive stance to change the entire feeling of the character. So UB is the designers. I hope they come up with something, because we sure as hell can't. At least not at this point. But yeah, I think Highlander is close, or maybe even already at the point where many characters are where they need reworks. Like, on top of all the characters we've already listed, right? Lawbringer, Shugoki, holy shit. Shinobi, maybe Raider. I think Nobushi fits that, pretty much needing a rework, or something very close to a rework. Now Highlander. There's still a lot of work to be done on the current heroes in the game, and the work is far from done on those reworks. But yeah, I think that's about it. Unless there's any other additional question, maybe like last one that you have, Reptil.
No, I don't have any more. I think now would be a good time if nobody else has anything to add.
Okay, so then that will be it for today's episode. So okay, so all of you guys, if you have anything to shout out or to just mention at the end of this episode, feel free to do so right now. So Badra, do you have anything?
I believe you were going to talk about the upcoming tournaments, so I just want to make sure.
Oh yeah, fair point. Okay, so there will be a tournament by For Glory. It's Saturday, right?
Saturday, May 26th at 1 p.m. Eastern.
Yep, so that will be a 4v4 Dominion tournament. Discord.gg/forglory is I think how you join. Either way, there's links everywhere to For Glory. When it comes to a shout out of a different Discord, then you can join, then !Discord in the chat, I already posted, and this is where you can join for additional knowledge if you're playing PC or console, for additional knowledge, for additional help if you need any, or just to hang out with other people. Those are good Discord for that. Okay, so Reptil and Scorpion, do you have anything to shout out, to talk about at the very end of this episode?
I think we've already shouted out some of the people, like Mistressed, good job on the tournament, very smooth. Pressmo, new talent, good job.
Very
getting
smooth.
To third.
Very smooth.
Yeah. Good job getting to third place.
Yeah.
Not really anything else from me.
Okay.
For these 2 weeks at least.
All right, Scorpion, is there anything?
Nope.
Okay, so then I will mute on Discord and I will say bye to the stream. So thank you guys for being on the today's podcast, and we'll see you next time, I assume. Okay, now that I have left the shackles of Reptil, Scorpion, and the Homeless Man, I'm here by myself, wasting your guys' time. And what I would like to talk about is I would like to reiterate that there will be an educational series coming soon. It's going to be on my YouTube channel that you can see in the panels below. And there's a lot more content coming from me, and you know, this is my stream. I can shout myself out. There's going to be a lot more content coming out from me. So you know, if you guys like this podcast, you know, please consider subscribing. Or I don't know why I started talking about subscribing first. I should say follow first, right? Just to make sure that, you know, it doesn't seem like I'm all about money. Okay, consider following, please. Press the like button, upvote. And do all of those YouTube/Twitch/Reddit things. There will be another podcast in 2 weeks, same time, same place. Everything will be there. I will be announcing what we'll be talking about sometime next week, sometime in a bit. So either way, there will be something. And yeah, so that should be about it. And I know I didn't switch to this one earlier. Thank you for watching, guys, and see you next time, which is in 2 weeks.